Hi, last week was the yahrzeit of Rabbi Sholom Sharabi, the holy Rashash. So who was the Rashash? The Rashash was one of the greatest Kabbalists that has lived in the last 300 years. And in fact, his commentary is printed in the back of Eitz Chaim, the Arizal's work, and his siddur is the siddur which the Kabbalists use even to this day in order to pray. So what's the story of the Rashash? Who was he? He was born in Yemen, and as a young boy he learned with his father, a person by the name of Rabbeinu Yitzchak. And this Rabbi Yitzchak, he was obviously somewhat of a hidden tzaddik. It's hard to tell exactly who he was, but he was a very learned man. Unfortunately, he passed away at a young age, and Rabbi Sholom Sharabi had to take on the burden of taking care of his family. So he took over his father's job of going from town to town to sell little trinkets. Now, at one of those points when he was traveling, he wound up going to the house of a sheikh. And the wife of the sheikh had very interesting ideas and unfortunately a very negative plan for him. And she took him up to be able to see his jewelry that he was selling, and he was on the third floor of the house, and she put him into a situation which was a very, very difficult situation, with the guards around with swords, etc. You can imagine the scene, and he saw a little window on the side, and he said to himself, I have to jump out of this window. But it was on the third floor. How was he going to survive? So he made a vow to God, and he said, I'm jumping out of the window, and if I make it, I'm going to go to study Torah in Yerushalayim, in Jerusalem. So he made his way towards the window, and the guard started chasing him, and he jumped out the window. He landed on a bush, and he survived. He ran home. He told his mother, and that began the trip for this teenager to go from Yemen all the way to Yerushalayim. How did it work? He wound up going to the port city of Aden, and from Aden he went and he took a boat to India. From India, he took a boat to Basra in Iraq. From Basra, he took a caravan through the desert to Baghdad. From Baghdad to Damascus. And finally, from Damascus, he made his way to Yerushalayim, to Jerusalem. This took about 2 years, and there are many very interesting stories that are told about this voyage. But let's pick up from where he comes into Jerusalem. Now, as we mentioned, he was already a very great Talmid Chacham, a great scholar, and knew a tremendous amount of Kaballah. But he wanted to remain humble and anonymous. But his one goal was to go and study in the famous Beis Kale yeshiva in Yerushalayim, the yeshiva for the Mekubalim, for the Kabbalists, ran by none other than Rabbi Gedalia Chiyun. He was the one that started this yeshiva. He wound up going to the yeshiva, and he begged them for a job to work as a shamish, to work as an attendant, to serve tea to the students, to put away the books at the end of the day. They saw this teenager that came all the way from Yemen all by himself. Okay, let's give him a job. And that's what happened. He wound up doing all these different things of putting away the books, serving tea, waking up everyone in the middle of the night so that they should be able to go to the mikveh before they do tikkun chatzos. And that's the way it went. And he was very happy. And he would quietly sit on the side, taking a Tehillim in his hand and reading Tehillim while everyone else was learning Kaballah. And they were listening to the classes of Rabbi Gedalia Chiyun. Now it happened, after some time of being there, that Rabbi Gedalia Chiyun, he couldn't understand a certain concept in Kaballah that he thought he should have understood. And all the students also felt the same way. They couldn't understand what was going on. They all went home at the end of the day, and the Rashash was thinking to himself, this is not an impossible topic. You should know this. And he wound up, what he did was he wrote a little note in the book of Rabbeinu Gedalia Chiyun, and he stuck it in quietly, and that's it. The next morning, when Rabbi Gedalia Chiyun came to give a shiur, he opened up his book. What does he see? He sees the answer. Should have known this. Yes, I know this answer. And he said, this is amazing. And he proceeded to give the shiur. Well, the next day, a similar thing happened. And again, and again, and again. And before long, it was happening on a regular basis. And every evening or at some point during the day, the holy Rashash would write in the answer to whatever the question was. after some time, Rabbi Gedalia Chiyun finally said, I want to know who is the one that is writing up the answers. And he made a decree on all of his students that they must admit who is the person. Now, the Rashash didn't look at himself as being one of the students, so he didn't feel that he had to divulge that it was really him. Well, what happened? No one came forward. Now, Rabbi Gedalia Chiyun had a daughter whose name was Chana. And Chana felt that she wanted to get to the bottom of this. So she was constantly watching the windows of the yeshiva to see what was happening, until one day she saw the Rashash going over to her father's book, and she saw him put in a paper. She immediately went to her father to tell him, you'll never believe. You know who the person is? He couldn't believe it. So immediately he made his way to the yeshiva, and he came to the Rashash. Rashash was looking at him. What's going on? What's happening? What's the matter? What's the matter? He said, tell me the truth. What do you mean, tell me the truth? Tell me the truth. What do you want from me? Tell me the truth. You must tell me the truth. I demand that you tell me the truth. No, please don't. The Rashash is saying, that's it. From now on, it's no longer going to be the same way as it has been up until now. But the Rashash says, please let me remain in my anonymous state. Please don't do this to me. He says, no. This is a sign from heaven that we're doing something wrong here. And really, you have to come and you have to become our teacher. And in fact, as the students came in that day, they saw sitting next to Rabbi Gedalia Chiyun was none other than the holy Rashash. And so what is he doing there? He's the Shamish. Well, it turns out that, as you can imagine, became known that really this quote-unquote Shamish, this servant that was serving them tea, was really this great genius, this great holy tzaddik that to this day we still are learning his Svarim, his books, and davening from his siddur. As an interesting side note, it turned out that Rabbi Gedalia Chiyun organized that his daughter Chana wound up marrying the holy Rashash, and the Rashash took over the yeshiva completely when he was 27 years old, when Rabbi Gedalia Chiyun passed away, and he became the Rosh Yeshiva of the Beis Kel Yeshiva. Everyone should have a wonderful Shabbos.